Every once in a while there comes an actor gifted with an unparalleled level of range and a comedic styling that resonates profoundly with audiences the world over. They have the uncanny gift of making every film they're a part of instantly enjoyable, even if the film itself is a little lackluster. Put whoever you had in mind aside, because there's only one actor that fits that description, and that actor's name is Nicolas Cage. It's impossible to think of another actor who has consistently maintained such a large cultural presence both on and off the screen. From the ever memeable Not the Bees in The Wicker Man to his outright bizarre facial expressions in Vampire's Kiss, Cage has been consistently delivering quotable moments and iconic gems since the early 1980s, inadvertently forming a cult following around himself in the process. In recent years, his works have been nothing less than incredibly varied to say the least. You've got Pig, a film about an isolated truffle hunter forced to revisit his past. You've got Willy's Wonderland, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie we were really promised. We've got Mandy, we've got Color Out of Space, I don't even know what the hell this movie was supposed to be. He's brought 150% like he always does to any film that he's a part of, and it's this dedication that has resulted in him becoming such an iconic star and meme icon. Which brings us to 2022's The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, a satirical culmination of the entire life and career of one Nicolas Kim Coppola, which I'll just be calling Massive Talent for the rest of the video because damn, the title is a fitting but eloquent mouthful, and because a heartbreaking work of staggering genius or a simple-minded take of existential hubris were probably already taken. The film stars Nicolas Cage as, well, Nicolas Cage, a down-on-his-luck actor clinging on to the small hope of scoring one last big movie deal in order to pay off his growing debts and jumpstart his career out of the slump he's recently found himself in. Growing increasingly distant from his family due to his dedication to work and egged on by his manager and own internal self-image, he reluctantly accepts a vague offer to be the guest of honor at the birthday party of billionaire playboy Harvey Gutierrez. Having resigned himself to quit acting once and for all and give his best effort to patch things up with his family when he returns home, he soon finds that not everything is going to go as smoothly as he first hoped, with Harvey, his acquaintances, and the CIA having decided they all have other plans for him. There's very few actors I feel that can claim they have the versatility to them that rivals that of Nicolas Cage. The man has given us plenty of dramatic performances, from the over-the-top Vampire's Kiss to the seriously chilling Face Off, and this movie takes everything he's given to us over the course of his career and gives him a role only he would be able to pull off, a variation of himself that is tired of being cast the way people think he is. He's fully embracing both the perception of who he is as an actor and what people assume about him as a person, taking both these things in stride and elevating them to absurd extremes. For a self-aware film such as this, it's extremely easy to imagine a version releasing that breaks down all that goodwill he's built up over the years, as there are plenty of examples of good actors playing cartoonish self-caricatures only to end up overshadowed by the jokes they're telling about themselves. Part of the fun of Nicolas Cage is that he's always kept the oversized concept of himself at arm's length. He's never come off like he makes those offbeat choices specifically to rile up his fan base, but it's his sincerity and his commitment to the roles he takes that endears him to his audience so much, and his acting prowess can still be considered second to none. The ever-affable Pedro Pascal, on the other hand, absolutely steals the show as Nicolas Cage superfan Harvey. The levels of endearment that you'll have towards this character by the film's ending are nothing short of impressive. He's one of the few actors these days that I feel has the ability to volley back the sheer energy and enthusiasm that Cage himself puts out, and it's this energy that translates the most through the screen. His comedic timing, paired alongside his wide-eyed fanboy attitude, elevates this already great film to another level entirely. Already known for his fantastic performance as Din Djarin in The Mandalorian, Pascal seems to relish in the opportunity to really throw himself about the screen in this one. Whether it be through heartfelt conversations about how watching the right film at the right time is able to make you want to change your life and be a better person, or the hilarious misadventures of paranoia about eating ice cream while high on LSD. He brings a warm, cheerful, and boyish enjoyment that will stick with you long after the credits start rolling. My favourite moment of the film occurs towards the latter half while the pair are planning to run towards their car. Having swapped shoes earlier on, they begin arguing over whether Nick actually performed his stunts in National Treasure, and how he should technically be able to run faster despite wearing subpar footwear. While the two main leads get equal share in the spotlight, the side characters in this film, however, are relegated to little more than extras, with both Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz playing the CIA agents monitoring Nick during his stay. They have one or two moments to shine early on in the film when discussing the manly nature of watching Face Off over the Croods 2 and reviving Nick after he accidentally poisons himself, but other than these moments, the rest of their time in the film is as background characters for the most part. The same goes for Demi Moore as Nick's wife Olivia, initially being a strong driving force for Nick to get his life back on track early on, but unfortunately she suffers a similar fate. She does play a more prominent role towards the third act of the film when she's physically brought back into the plot, but other than that, she's more or less irrelevant for the most part during Nick's stay on Harvey's Island, which is a shame, but the film has to have at least a few lesser polished moments here or there. Massive Talent has a meta-comedy to it that just completely sells it in my honest opinion. Too many films these days have been coming out that take themselves 100% seriously. While that's not inherently a bad thing, sometimes you want a film to be completely aware of what it is and the ridiculous nature of what it's trying to tell you. This film weaves together numerous stories throughout its runtime. At times, it's a buddy comedy, with both Cage and Pascal growing ever fonder of each other. At others, it's a straight-faced spy thriller, with stunts performed by Cage that harken back to classics such as National Treasure and The Rock. And then there's the third act. The third act is where I feel the movie suffers the most, mainly due to its tonal shift into a generic action movie. And while this is joked about throughout the film, it still lowers the overall pacing and enjoyment going forward. It is a lot of fun and enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but it never quite reaches the highs of just watching Pedro and Nick riffing on each other. It's this portion of the movie where the self-awareness just isn't as effective in my opinion. There's some scenes where Cage has conversations with a somewhat poorly CGI version of his younger self. Unfortunately, these scenes get stuck in the uncanny valley and they don't add much to the story besides confusing the audience into thinking he's suffering from hallucinations. Young Nicky does provide one of the film's iconic lines, however, and watching him make out with himself definitely made me exhale warm air through my nose a little. The comedy pairing of Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal is definitely not one that I was expecting going into the cinema, but it's absolutely one that I'm fully on board with after watching this film. The duo have such a fantastic chemistry with each other that there's legitimate times where you forget there's meant to be an actual plot going on, and you really just want to watch these two goofing off together. Some people may find it a bit strange to think that Nicolas Cage is playing himself in this film, and doing so with the full might of his acting capabilities I might add, and yet Massive Talent manages to harness this so that it never feels out of place or like it's going too over the top. He might be playing the actor Nick Cage, but it's the Nicolas Cage that the internet perceives him as, and not the man as we might know. Which does leave me wondering though, is Nick Cage truly a crazy actor with limited talent as many critics or articles have said over the years? Or have the directors and screenwriters that he's worked with not been able to adapt themselves around his methods, and find a way to work with him to make him truly shine like this film does? Ponder that one, if you will. At its heart, the unbearable weight of Massive Talent is at its strongest when it's celebrating the life and career of one of Hollywood's most quirky and unique actors. Long-time Nicolas Cage fans will find precisely what they're looking for out of this movie's meta-exploration of the actor's persona. But for the general movie-going audience, the real heart and soul of the film lies strictly in Cage's on-screen bromance with Pedro Pascal. Their chemistry together carries the film into far more memorable territory than it otherwise would be, and more than makes up for the few of the film's less interesting elements in the third act. While providing some minor insight into how an actor might view the movie-making industry as a whole, the film even goes so far as to include some genuinely touching moments about male friendships and the importance of making time for your family sprinkled alongside the meta-comedy. You're more than guaranteed a fun and enjoyable time, and if nothing else, you'll at least walk away from the film with an intense desire to watch Paddington 2. So, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Have you seen the film? What did you think? Let me know what you thought down below, check out my socials to keep up to date on the conversation, and click that big red button if you want to see more. I've been Nefri, and I'll see you all in the next one.